What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about the most evil Canadians in history. That's right, despite Canada being known for having the most kind and polite and nicest people on the planet, basically, even Canada has a couple of bad eggs. Rotten bags of milk, spoiled bottles of maple syrup, whatever Canadian pun you want to use. But all kidding aside, I do want to acknowledge that this list does contain literal criminals that have committed murder. And as much as I'm interested in learning about this from an educational and a historical point of view, I think it's important to recognize that these individuals have ruined people's lives. And those people have my deepest condolences. So now that I've gotten all serious on you, let's take a look at the 10 most evil Canadians in history. Let's take a look.
Joseph Albert Gay. Years after getting married to his wife Rita, Joseph Albert Gay met a younger lady with whom he struck up a romantic relationship.
Oh boy.
Determined to spend the rest of his life with his newfound lover, Gay devised a plot to get his wife out of the picture.
Oh my, wait, see, this kind of stuff is like, I never get it. Can't he just, divorce his wife? What kind of person does it take? And I have to say, this is bizarre. Already reminding myself that these are Canadians, because this is, there's plenty of stories like this with Americans, and this is all Canadians, but just goes to show you, human beings are human beings. I guess there's always going to be those who can't just break up with their wife or divorce. They have to plot to kill them for some reason.
To achieve this plan, he sought the help of two accomplices, his friend Marguerite Pitre and her brother Généreux Rouet, who was a clockmaker. In 1949, Gay persuaded Rouet to build an explosive device, which he then checked into an airplane Rita was going to board.
Whoa. And this is like a... Wait. We're talking about him making an explosive device. This is a French Canadian, by the sound of it, who had someone make a bomb that they could put on an airplane just to kill their wife. But won't that also kill all the people on the airplane as well? Is this as bad as it sounds?
The device detonated during the flight, killing all 23 people on board, including Rita. Gay's heinous plan may have succeeded, but he was...
Oh my god. It really did. I didn't know if the plan was going to actually work. And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, he blew up an airplane. When did this all happen exactly? That is absolutely crazy. I've never heard of this one before, this story. He blew up an airplane. I'm hoping he got caught somehow. Well, he must have to have ended up on this list telling this story, but
also put to death after being convicted of the crime.
Oh, he was put to death. That took a really quick turn.
May have succeeded, but he was also put to death after being convicted of the crime.
So he was found out. He was convicted of murdering over 20 people. I didn't know. I don't know anything about Canada and the death penalty. That actually took me by surprise a bit. I would have said I assume Canada doesn't have it, but I think we're talking about a while ago, and I'm just comparing it to the United States, which is like it's legal in some states and not in others, and it's pretty much it's kind of split among the United States, but for some reason, I would have almost assumed Canada doesn't do the death penalty, but I don't know why I assumed that. But no matter what your feelings on that are, it's gives me some pleasure to know that this man had justice happen to him. What that justice was, you can debate or whatever, but I'm glad he was caught and punished. I can say that. Oh my
Russell
God.
Williams. For 23 years, Russell Williams was a decorated pilot and officer of the Canadian Armed Forces, rising to the rank of colonel. Williams was the commander of Canada's largest military airbase when he was arrested in February 2010 for the murder of Jessica Lloyd.
Whoa. Someone so high up in Canada's military. That's probably why this is such a big story. That's very unusual. someone, and kind of knowing that someone capable of murder made it that high up in like the military rankings is disturbing as well.
Williams' arrest hit like a bombshell.
He had been connected to the crime through the tire tracks found outside Lloyd's home after her disappearance. During police interrogation, Williams confessed not only to Lloyd's murder, but to multiple assaults and also breaking into women's homes to steal their underwear.
What?
Yeah, 60 pieces of theirs.
He would then...
what do you expect from... I guess I didn't expect that, but what can you expect? So they found him because of like tracks and interrogated him, and he actually confessed. Like a kind of a totally different story to the last one.
Then take photographs of himself wearing these garments. At his trial...
I don't mean to laugh, but it's absurd. Like it's the play that one more time.
Pieces of theirs.
He would then take photographs of himself wearing these garments.
Okay.
At his trial,
Okay.
Williams faced various charges, including murder, assault, and 82 counts of breaking and entering.
Oh,
He
my
is currently
God.
serving a life sentence.
He's serving a life sentence. Yeah, the breaking and entering is bad. The photographs are weird. But you know what? He could have just gone to the department store and bought some, women's underwear and, what he does in the privacy of his own time, whatever. But he had to steal them, which is bad. And, even worse is he committed murder, which they never really explained why he did that. But he clearly has, some problems.
How do you feel about what you've done? Like what?
How does he feel?
Disappointed.
Elizabeth Wet...
Disappointed. Disappointed that he was caught, disappointed in himself, disappointed in his choice of clothing option, or I don't know. All right, let's keep going.
Wetlaufer. It's quite horrific that sometimes it's the ones who are supposed to care for us that end up harming us. That
Oh.
certainly was the case with Elizabeth Wetlaufer,
No.
who worked as a nurse in multiple healthcare facilities around Ontario.
No. This is some of the most disturbing stuff right here. Finding out about caretakers, the people you're supposed to be most intimately trusting, like they're saying, end up like abusing or maybe in this scenario, killing someone they're supposed to take care of? Why?
Soon enough, she'd be working night shifts. The nurse on duty, responsible for all the medications. She was the keeper. She was the boss.
Right, that's the terrifying thing, is these are people you put in positions of power and control because you're supposed to trust them. They're in charge of helping people who can't help themselves. The amount of responsibility and trust that goes into that is so massive. So that is why these kind of stories are more disturbing. Not just that this happened, but then living with the knowledge of people are capable of this, that you're supposed to be able to trust, stings kind of extra deep in a way.
During this time, Wetlaufer murdered 8 elderly patients of hers and attempted to kill 6 others. She committed these crimes by injecting her victims with the diabetes medication insulin, which, when administered in high doses, can lead to coma and death.
That's terrifying. That's horrible. What? How is this like number 8 or 7 on the list? How is this not higher up on the list? I'm scared about what's coming next if this is so low on the list. She poisoned the patients she was supposed to look after. Not just one, like I thought. It's like 8 or 6 or more? I don't know. There's no words for something like this. It's terrifying.
Most of them lived at this care center in Woodstock, Ontario. In a chilling confession to police, Wetlaufer claimed they were annoying, stubborn, and some even wanted to die.
Hey, they were annoying. Annoying. They were stubborn and annoying. So she killed them. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you can try to wrap your mind around, like, the psychology of these kinds of people, but it's really kind of pointless at times, because, like, there's no real way to even process it. It's just nonsense and nonsensical killing and murder and horrible. And not much more you can say.
Wetlaufer also had substance use disorder, and while at a rehab facility in 2016, she confessed to her despicable actions, chalking them up to, quote, surges beyond her control. In 2017, she was
Nah. Like, on some level, you want to be like, oh, that's good that they admitted what they did was bad, but even still, it never comes close to making up for what they did, even if they're like, oh, I recognized in hindsight that was bad that I poisoned those elderly people I was taking care of to death. That was bad. Like, that doesn't make it all okay. Doesn't redeem her in any way. I'm sorry, but that's just horrible.
convicted and handed 8 consecutive life sentences.
She said she was sorry, but sorry's too late. It's already done.
Yeah.
Luka Magnotta.
Yes, thank you. Exactly. Okay, next, Luka Magnotta.
And so I was on Facebook one day and I found a post. A lot of people have been feverishly posting about a video that was online.
In 2010, multiple videos began appearing online which portrayed acts of animal cruelty being carried out by an unidentified man. The clips caught the attention of a group of online sleuths who were able to identify the man as Luka Magnotta.
Oh, what I know, I've heard of this. He like tortured cats online. I think I've heard of this one. Maybe even back when it was like first coming out or something. I think they made a Netflix documentary about this as well. This guy, he's Canadian. I did not know that. It's really sickening. Oh man, I hate to even say it, but he would essentially torture animals, cats, and videotape it, like put them in vacuum chambers and suck the air out, suffocate, cats. It's horrible to even talk about, but yeah, oh my God. He definitely deserves to be on this list. It's sickening in a whole different way.
Soon after, another video by Magnotta surfaced. Only this time, he was no longer inflicting harm on an animal, but a human being.
What?
It was no longer a game of online. This was real world.
The victim in the
Really? I did not know that. I've heard about the cat stuff, which is disturbing. Animals, innocent animals can't defend themselves. It kind of hits a primal, feeling inside of us, like torturing animals that can't defend themselves. But I didn't know he also, did he torture a human and videotape it? That's disgusting. That's despicable. And kind of shocking to me, because I didn't know about that part.
Reporting was an international student from China named Jun Lin. Magnotta had lured Lin to his apartment, where he murdered him and then mutilated his body on camera. Magnotta fled the country afterwards, but was eventually arrested in Berlin. The investigation of the case became the subject of a highly controversial Netflix documentary.
Right. Yeah, there's a Netflix documentary on this. So they did catch him eventually. It pleases me a lot that it seems like in all of these scenarios of the most evil Canadians in history, they were caught and some kind of justice was brought, At times it feels like they committed the crime and what justice can even happen, but it's better than them getting away forever. Better than that.
They finally caught him. And it was just like the perfect way for Luka to go down. Luka was caught in an internet cafe because he couldn't stay away from his vanity.
Clifford Olson. Dubbed the Beast of British Columbia, Clifford Olson was a serial killer who rained terror on young people in the area in the early 80s. Olson claimed 11
young people in Britain. This is just so crazy. Hearing about these Canadian sort of criminals, serial killers, even, because I've heard all the American stories. Those receive a lot of news and press, but never any of this Canadian stuff. So it's kind of, I don't know. It's weird to even learn about this in a sense, because I really, I was kind of joking, but I really do think of Canada as like, oh, it's so positive and everyone's so polite and ha ha ha. And knowing that there is like horrors of the world like this that exist everywhere, is sad, but, important to, recognize that humans are humans, everywhere, and they do this stuff. So let's keep going. The Beast of British Columbia, what a name. I'm disturbed already because they're saying that he targeted young children. It's not the same as torturing kittens, but it hits that same spot. It's much worse than that. It's children, it's humans. But it hits that same vein of like, you're doing such evil acts to such innocent people, children. It's disgusting. It's irredeemable. I do want to know what happened to him, though.
11 lives in less than 1 year. Young people in the area in the early 80s. Olson claimed 11 lives in less than 1 year. He was finally arrested on August 12, 1981, after a failed abduction. What makes this case even more outrageous is the controversial plea deal Olson reached with the authorities. In exchange for confessing to all 11 murders and leading police to the locations of the victims' remains, Olson's wife and child received 100,000 Canadian dollars. He was eventually sentenced to life in prison before dying of cancer in 2011.
Good. Cancer is horrible. But, and I don't think I've ever in my life said, like, oh, I'm happy that person caught cancer and died, but I'm kind of happy this guy caught cancer and died. I'm sorry, that's not good to say, but he's... and then for some reason, even despite murdering 8 people, his family got, through a plea deal, $100,000. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know anything about his wife or child, or if they knew about this, or had anything to do with it. But on its face, it's kind of, disturbing, especially if you're a victim or part of a victim's family in this whole situation, and you are finding out that the family of the guy who murdered your family member or they're getting money. I could see where people would have a problem with that. I can see it.
Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka. The crimes of killer couple Paul Bernardo and Karla Homolka are arguably some of the most horrifying in the history of Canada. Even before meeting Homolka in October of...
These two. It's so great. They look so wholesome and jolly in their photos, It's crazy. You really never know. That's the scary thing, too. That these two are some of the most vicious, criminals or murderers in Canadian history? Really? Them?
1987, Bernardo had committed multiple assaults, mostly in the town of Scarborough, Ontario.
The damage that it did to those victims was unreal.
After the couple began dating, Homolka became an accomplice to Bernardo's sadistic crimes.
So, Bernardo, I think that's his name, is already assaulting people. I'm not sure what that means. He's assaulting people. I know he's harming people. I'm just not sure. Are they getting in arguments? Is he just going up to random people and assaulting them? That's what I don't understand. He somehow finds an equally deranged girlfriend, and she becomes his accomplice somehow. This is just the worst, setup story possible, huh?
Aiding him in the assault and murders of at least 3 young girls.
What? Oh my God. And then together they murdered 3 young girls. Were they ever caught? It sounds like they were.
One of whom was her own sister, Tammy.
Homolka didn't lift a finger to save her sister from Bernardo.
Upon their arrests, Homolka turned on Bernardo, claiming to have been forced into participating under the threat of violence. Bernardo was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life imprisonment, while Homolka was found guilty of the lesser charge of manslaughter.
Since then, she...
What? Oh, this is so confusing, because I don't have all the information. I don't know exactly what to think without all the details, but the guy has life in prison. Great. Perfect. The girlfriend totally abandoned him, which is funny, and I hope he felt betrayed and horrible. That's kind of an extra level of justice onto the guy, that his accomplice girlfriend betrayed him when push came to shove. But then she kind of made it out that she was innocent. She was coerced into doing it. I don't know what to think of that. I don't know if that's true or not. It's kind of hard to believe. That you can just be coerced into helping someone murder 3 little girls. Tough to believe, but not impossible. But I just don't know. I don't know the details.
She's kept a low profile, going by the name Leanne Teal.
Marc Lépine.
So she's not in prison. She got like a manslaughter charge, I think they said, and it sounds like she's just free, which might be a huge mistake, might be correct. I don't know if he was threatening to murder her and her whole family, or if she didn't help, or I don't know. Horrible situation. No matter how you think about it, it's just horrible. Anyway.
To date, the École Polytechnique massacre.
Okay, so this is Marc?
By the name Leanne Teal.
Marc Lépine. To date, the École Polytechnique massacre remains one of the deadliest mass shootings in Canadian history.
Oh my God. Yeah, mass shootings are, something that I think is kind of synonymous with American culture at this point, because there are a disturbing number of mass shootings that have occurred in the United States. I don't know of any in Canadian history until now.
The ugly episode, which was perpetrated by 25-year-old Marc Lépine, occurred on December 6, 1989, and left 14 women dead, and an additional 14 other people injured.
Soon, news of a crazed gunman started trickling out, sending anxious families into shock. But no one knew anything for sure.
Horrible.
Fueled by his frustrations with feminism, Lépine walked into the École Polytechnique de Montréal and specifically targeted women in the institution.
He yelled.
Oh my God. He was literally out to like kill all women, basically, for holding a different viewpoint than he did. What can you even say about a lot of this stuff? Disgusting.
At the guy that they have to leave the classroom, 9 women all together in the corner of the room. He told us that we were there because we were feminists.
At the end of the ordeal, he took his own life. The massacre acted as a catalyst for stricter gun control laws in Canada, and its anniversary is now observed as the National Day of Remembrance and Action on Violence Against Women.
Oh, I didn't know about that. There's actually a day of remembrance around this event. That's good. He took his own life, as is not that uncommon for a lot of mass shooters in the United States, honestly. I've just never heard of this story. Never knew this kind of thing happened in Canada, which is, kind of why I was interested in this video in the first place. Kind of eye-opening, I guess.
Women's respective lives and destinies were shattered, which has left us with the obligation to reflect on this loss.
Gilbert Paul Jordan, known in the media as the Boozing Barber,
I'm sorry, the Boozing Barber. We got to go back to giving criminals like weird names, aliases, like the Boozing Barber. I don't mean to make jokes, but it's a funny name, the Boozing Barber. What is this, like a Sweeney Todd thing, like cutting people with the shaving knife or something, or what?
Gilbert Paul Jordan was a Canadian serial killer who found an unconventional way to kill his victims. Instead of conventional weapons, Jordan's was alcohol. A person who misused alcohol himself. Jordan would pick up women from bars in Vancouver's downtown east side and ply them with drinks. Once they had blacked out, he would then force feed them with more alcohol until they overdosed and died.
What? I have never heard of such a thing. Never. Some of these stories have been more disturbing, but that is the weirdest. Disturbing in a different way. That's how he killed multiple people? Getting them drunk on alcohol. Then taking them home and force feeding them more alcohol till they died of alcohol. That's just deranged.
He mostly targeted Indigenous women in the area and is believed to have killed at least 8 women throughout his spree. Unbelievably, Jordan was only found guilty of manslaughter in 1 case and served just 6 years in prison.
What?
Inderjit Singh.
What? Wait, what? So, is he out here? Out there? Here, is he out here? Is he in this room? No. The Boozing Barber is, he was just convicted on minimal charges. Served how long? And he's free to go now?
8 women throughout his spree. Unbelievably, Jordan was only found guilty of manslaughter in 1 case and served just 6 years in prison.
6 years. So, according to this, he's just free to go out there doing God knows what. Okay. I mean, this also reminds me of a lot of American, injustice cases where weird stuff weird convictions like that happen and no one really knows why. I guess they just didn't have enough evidence. I suppose that's all it boils down to, right? Wow.
Inderjit Singh Rayat. Before the 9/11 attacks, the deadliest act of terrorism in the aviation industry involved Air India Flight 182.
Really?
On June 23, 1985, the plane left Montreal for London, but exploded in midair, leading...
Whoa. I did not know about this. What is this?
1985, the plane left Montreal for London, but exploded in midair, leading to the deaths of all 329 passengers and crew.
There are memorials across the country.
No way. That's a legitimate terrorist attack in Canada that I've never heard of. See, that's not good. I feel like that kind of thing should be more commonly known to Americans. That's substantial. That's news. All of these are substantial, of course, but this is by pure human lives lost. This 300 Canadians killed by one man. That's horrible. Beyond horrible. And I'm kind of shocked I've never heard of this.
To honor the victims.
Have a memorial.
The sundial on Toronto's lakeshore marks the moment that changed hundreds of families' lives.
A second explosive device was aimed at another flight, but it detonated earlier than expected and killed 2 baggage handlers. The event was masterminded by the leader of the Babur Khalsa separatist group, Talwinder Singh Parmar. Parmar persuaded a member of the group, Inderjit Singh Rayat, who was a mechanic and electrician, to build the incendiaries used.
For some, Canada's...
No way. Wow. I'm just kind of mind blown by this. This scale of death and destruction that I didn't know about.
First mass murderer is considered a hero.
You would think that people would have moved on from those radical...
I imagine when this happened, it was a very, very, very big world news story. So maybe there are Americans, maybe a little older than me, who are familiar with this. But I was not. That's why I'm kind of shocked.
Thoughts from 30 years ago, and we're at a new place in our history.
Of all the people involved, Rayat was the only one convicted. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison.
Wait, what? I am confused. 15 years? For 300 deaths, or... Am I missing something? Am I misinterpreting something? The guy who masterminded putting the bomb on the Canadian airplane that killed 300 people got 15 years? Am I understanding this correctly?
Rayat was the only one convicted. He was sentenced to 15 years in prison.
Huh? I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like I must not be understanding something about that story. Because that just doesn't make sense. Okay. Anyway, for the sake of moving on, we have Robert Pickton.
One of the most prolific serial killers in Canadian history. Robert Pickton was a pig farmer whose large farm became the site of his despicable crimes. In 2007, Pickton was convicted of the second-degree murders of 6 women, although he confessed to an undercover agent that his actual victim count was 49.
49? 49? That's... And it's in the previous one, 300 people lost their lives all at once in an explosion. This is like this guy going out 49 separate times and killing people on 49 different occasions, which is disgusting, unthinkable in its own way.
Hours and hours of tapes and thousands of documents make up a staggering amount of evidence that until now could not be reported.
It's believed that Pickton's murderous spree began in the mid-'80s when he inherited his family's farm.
I think he acted... Yeah, and the whole farm thing, the whole bringing them back to the pig farm is just the stuff from horror movies, honestly.
Alone most of the time, but I don't think he acted alone all of the time.
Together with his brother, he hosted raves that were sometimes attended by up to 2,000 people, some of whom became his eventual victims.
He actually set up the circumstances in these raves that they were having to lure effectively a kind of steady stream of prey for him.
Oh my God, what a crazy story. That's how he did it. He had parties, raves. People go, they're having a good time, maybe a little inebriated. Inebriated? Yes. And he takes advantage 49 times.
So, in that sense, I don't know how much of it was a conscious effort on his part and how much of it was just circumstantial good fortune as far as he was concerned.
After killing them, Pickton reportedly gave their remains to his pigs. He was sentenced to life in prison.
No. Okay, literal horror movie stuff. Killing people, feeding them to the pigs. I didn't know stuff like this happened in real life, honestly. Let alone Canada. That's a crazy story. That's actually a crazy story. He got caught. He got life in prison. So at least there's that, I guess. But
with no,
maybe his punishment, like he should be fed to the pigs. Maybe, think about that.
No possibility of parole for 25 years.
All right, and there you have it. Oh my God, that was kind of intense, huh? That was by Watch Mojo, and I'll give it a like, not because I enjoyed those stories, but I enjoyed, I guess, becoming aware of the stories, you could say, of this history, becoming, these were obviously huge stories at individual points in time that I missed every single one of them, basically, except that one guy who tortures cats and is on Netflix. I had heard of that, but the rest of these, I'm shocked at how many huge, basically serial killers exist in Canada throughout Canada's history that I've never heard of. Terrorist events I've never heard of. Some kind of horror movie pig farmer I've never heard of. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Just, all despicable, disgusting, And again, for those actually affected directly by this, because this is not just a YouTube video on a screen, it's real. This happened to people, and people's loved ones endured this. And again, I just want to emphasize acknowledging that, and how horrible this all is, and condolences to those people. But I don't know. This was an interesting video, because most of the time the videos I do are very positive. And this was kind of a totally, 360-degree turn to something completely different, a different side of Canadian history I've never looked at. And for those reasons, it was interesting. So if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment, perhaps with your thoughts on any of these individuals or their stories, or if you've heard of any of these things in Canada. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and Canadian culture and stuff about Canada I've never learned before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.